So I thought this evening I would do a little cook along with me video. I'm going to be doing one of my favourite recipes that I used to do when I was on Slimming World, and I've checked it out and it goes really well in terms of the smart point system as well. So it's really low on Slimming World and I think it's really reasonable on smart points as well. Based on the recipe from the Hairy Dieter's book, if you're following Slimming World or Weight Watchers, particularly Weight Watchers, I think these books are fantastic. They really fall in line well with the Weight Watchers point system. I find that when I cook the recipes from here, they come in sort of really low points, which is really good. So the one I'm going to be sort of loosely basing my recipe on tonight are these. They are the creamy chicken and tarragon pots. So they're almost like a deconstructed chicken pie. So it's the filling with a cheesy top of sort of pie crust, and like I say, they're really delicious. I've totted up all the points, and if you are doing Slimming World, they come in at about a syn to a syn and a half, no more than that. Everything else is free. And on Weight Watchers they come in at 8 smart points for the whole meal, including the little pot and some potatoes and vegetables on the side. So again, I think that's really reasonable. So I'm going to start by spritzing the pan with a couple of spritzes of fry light. I think the book calls to use for oil, but I always use fry light to keep it nice and low. Like I say, I'm not 100% following the recipe. I'm kind of loosely basing it on it because the recipe calls for things like leeks, and I'm not a big lover of leeks, so I leave those out. They're also chicken and tarragon pots, and I don't like tarragon, so I do a chicken and thyme version, but they are really similar. I claim it as my own recipe. It is definitely the Hairy Biker's recipe, and I think in the book it actually says that a viewer sent a recipe to them, but they're really delicious. So I'm going to start just by frying off the chicken. That'll probably take a couple of minutes. I've laid out all my ingredients so they're all ready. I think it was just over 200 grams of new potatoes, 220 grams. That works out at 4 smart points, and me and my other half are both having it, so it's two smart points each. And they're soaking because I'm going to put them in the air fryer, so they have to soak for about 15-20 minutes, and then I'm just going to spritz them with some fry light and some garlic salt and some rosemary and pop them in the fry lighter, and they'll probably take about 15 to 20 minutes, but for now they're soaking. The chicken's just started cooking now, so I'm just going to cook this off for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, till it's all cooked through. So cooking in here, I have 2 chicken breasts, so again 1 each for myself and my other half, so they are 2 smart points each. And I've put in here 6 bacon medallions, smoked bacon medallions. They come in at, I think that the 3 medallions is a smart point. So far we have got 3 smart points worth of food, and then with the potatoes over there we've got 5. I'm just getting a pan of water ready here because I'm going to serve these with some new potatoes and also some cabbage and spinach, and just sort of lightly boiled. So I'll just get the water ready. I'm not going to pop that on the boil yet, I'll do that in a little bit. I haven't cooked in so long, normally my other half does the cooking, but I always used to make these when I was doing Slimming World, and I did used to cook back then, so I thought I would make them tonight. I don't know, I just got really lazy. When I first started in Slimming, I used to love cooking new recipes, but now I've just got really lazy, and he enjoys doing it, so we've kind of swapped roles a little bit, and he does all the cooking and I do the washing up. But it's actually quite nice to do a little bit of cooking again, especially when I say these are like really tasty and I know they're going to be delicious. Kind of cooking away now. I'm just going to keep frying it till it's cooked through, but also get a bit of colour. I like a bit of colour on the chicken and the bacon, which sometimes takes a little while to get to because obviously you see a lot of water's coming out of it, but I like to make sure I get it nice and crispy and get a bit of colour on the bacon and the chicken as well. So the chicken and bacon has been frying for about 5 minutes now. So the chicken's all cooked through, I've checked, and it's just starting to get a little bit of colour on it. So I'm now going to add mushrooms. Completely up to you how many you add. I love mushrooms, so I normally do quite a lot. Sometimes I'll do like a whole tub. It really depends, but I really like mushrooms, but it's up to you. Mushrooms cook down loads, so I always think it's better to do slightly more. So I will now just cook these through for a couple of minutes, just to cook the mushrooms down a little bit. Like it's going to simmer in here with some stock in a minute anyway, but just to cook the mushrooms down a little bit. So the mushrooms have been cooking just for a couple of minutes. They've cooked down really quickly. They're really dirty, these mushrooms. They're kind of made, not muddy dirty, but they're just quite dark and really black from the inside when it's gone on the chicken. But what I'm now going to do is in here I have 500 millilitres of boiling water. I just boiled the kettle and water in, and then I've dissolved in it a Knorr stock cube. It's meant to be chicken stock, but I didn't actually have any Knorr chicken stock ones, so I've used the vegetable one and hopefully it'll do the same job. On Slimming World, these are free. So if you are following Slimming World, everything in this pan is free. You don't need to sim any of it. On Weight Watchers, the Knorr stock pots are 2 for a whole stock pot, so I've pointed that at 1 smart point for each of us. That's just going to simmer. While it simmers, I'm going to put in, I've got dried thyme. You can use fresh thyme, or the recipe does mention tarragon, so you can use tarragon, dried tarragon, fresh tarragon. Like I said, I just don't personally like tarragon, so I don't use that. So I'm just going to put in a nice big teaspoon of tarragon and just stir that through, and then basically just let this simmer for about 5 minutes. Normally fine. So I've just put a good grind of black pepper in there. I do like quite a bit of pepper in my food, so obviously do that to taste. I don't add any salt, just because I find the bacon is smoked, so it's quite salty, and normally I have a Knorr chicken stock pot, and I find those quite salty as well, so I don't bother adding any sort of salt to it at this stage. What I'm going to do is heat up my air fry, because in about 5 minutes the chicken pots are going to be going into the oven. So at that point they take about 10 to 15 minutes, which is the same time the potatoes are going to take. So I'm just going to switch this on to heat up. I've never actually used this before. Like I said, my other half normally does this, but he has instructed me, and I'm going to pop it round to 20 minutes and just give it about 5 minutes to heat up. And that's just going to simmer there for, like I said, about 5 minutes until it starts to condense down a little bit. I just kind of use my judgment when I think there's going to be enough sauce to coat the two of them, because at the moment it's kind of swimming in it, so I just let it cook down a little bit. So probably about 5 minutes or so. Okay, so I've now got my massive pile of greens. I might have gone a little bit overboard on the greens, but it's greens, you can never have too many. And obviously it's going to cook down quite a lot. So this has been simmering now, and it's kind of getting to the stage where it's reducing quite a bit, so I've just turned it down a little bit. What I'm actually going to do now is drain these potatoes and dry them off. And then I'm going to season them with some garlic salt and some rosemary, so I'll just do that. So I have drained off the potatoes and dried them with some paper towel, and then I'm just going to give them a little spritz of fry light and a good shake of rosemary, because I like rosemary potatoes, so I'm just going to sprinkle a decent amount of rosemary over them, and I'm just going to have to pop the camera down for this. And then a good grind of pepper. Just shake those about a little bit, and then these are just going to go into the air fry machine. and then I'm just going to check them every 5 minutes or so. I'm going to shake it out. It's sort of condensed right down now, and you can see a lot of the liquid has bubbled away. So what I'm now going to do is add some the Year Valley 0% creme fraiche. Now, if you're following Slimming World, this is where you'll need to add syns. I've got 2 tablespoons in here, so you know it's a tablespoon each. I believe the Year Valley one on Slimming World is either a syn or a syn and a half for a tablespoon. I can't remember which. So it will be 2 to 3 syns depending on the value. And on Weight Watchers, for this amount of creme fraiche, which like I said is 2 tablespoons and it's about 50 grams, that is 1 smart point. So 1 smart point, and we're dividing it by 2, and you're talking sort of half a smart point, and obviously Weight Watchers don't normally do half smart points, so I haven't pointed it. If it isn't enough, in my opinion, if it's not a whole smart point, it's not, you know, you don't have to smart point it. If you want to be really stringent, then of course you can point it as a point each, but like I said, for me it's half a smart point, which I wouldn't normally point half a smart point. So I'm just going to mix that through and see how it looks. It's still looking quite dark and not creamy, so in actual fact I might add another tablespoon of that, in which case that will become a point. So it's just really to taste. This is obviously just to make it quite creamy. It normally adds a nice colour as well. It normally makes it a nice kind of chicken pie creamy colour. But like I say, because the mushrooms are just so dark, it's just not this. So I've now divided the mixture between the 2 ramekins. As you can see, they're pretty much full to the top. So in my opinion, you do get quite a decent amount of meal here for your points, especially when you add in the potatoes and the vegetables. Like I was saying, I did add an extra tablespoon of the creme fraiche to make it a little bit creamier, but that's still only taking it to 9 points with the potatoes and vegetables. So I think considering how full the ramekins are, I think it's pretty good value for your points. Now what we're going to do is I've grated some cheese in here. I have 60 grams of reduced fat cheddar in here, sorry, and that is 6 points, so obviously at 3 points each. So I'm now literally just going to sprinkle the cheese between the 2, kind of divide it evenly between the 2 ramekins. If you're doing Slimming World, this is where you would use your healthy A. So if you were following this and you wanted it to be free, aside from the few syns for the creme fraiche, this is where you would use your A, and you could put 40 grams of reduced fat cheddar on each one, whereas here I've just used 30, because as you can see, 30 grams each is quite a decent amount in my opinion. Like, I don't necessarily think you would need the full 40 grams, but if you were doing Slimming World, then you could certainly put it on. But I've added that on, and like I say, that's 2 points each on that. So I'm now going to pop these on the baking tray and put them in the oven. You put them in the oven, it's purely just to kind of melt the cheese, so they take normally about 10 minutes, 15 maybe. I preheated the oven earlier at 200 degrees, so it is a case of just letting the cheese melt, let it go golden, and waiting for the potatoes to cook. Okay, so this is the finished product. You can see the cheese is melting now. Like I said, I've made this 1,000 times and it's looked a hell of a lot better than this, but it's just typical that I decide to film it and I get the worst mushrooms in the world that turn it a horrible brown colour. But like I say, it is really tasty. If you can get yourself some nice fresh button mushrooms, not the big, because I was using up leftover big ones that I would normally grill or cook in the oven. It's nice fresh button mushrooms. I think it's really, really tasty and worth trying. So you've got little rosemary potatoes there, and then I've got lots of greens, which you're going to have alongside it.